بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. I want to thank everyone who joined us for tonight's Friday night lecture, for those in person and for those on YouTube. Jazakumullahu khairan. Tonight we were supposed to have Mufti Abdul Wahab. Unfortunately, he could not join us today, but replacing him, inshallah, is Shaykh Abdullah Waheed. I'm sure most of you know who he is. If you don't know who he is the Director of Islamic Affairs in Flint Islamic Center, and he's also a co-founder of Miftah Institute. MashaAllah, is doing great work with Miftah, always putting out amazing videos with those tafsir. MashaAllah, everyone is benefiting from those videos. So may Allah bless you and your family. And alhamdulillah, it's really a blessing to have you here in the Muslim Unity Center. So inshallah, Shaykh Abdullah is going to speak today about how to take advantage of the summertime. You know, as the school year ends, we have a lot of these youth that they have a bunch of free time, and people might have certain goals, but Shaitan gets to everyone. He says, it's summertime, relax. You know, it's a time to chill out a little bit. But this is the prime time to connect with Allah, where the time where we get away from school so we can focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a really important time for the ummah. And so I want to invite to the stage or to the table Shaykh Abdullah Waheed to talk about this amazing topic. Jazakumullah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والجنة الموحدين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنام وخاتم النبيين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتاب العزيز بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فلا أقسم بمواقع النجوم وإنه لقسم لو تعلمون عظيم وإنه لقرآن كريم في كتاب مكنون. وقال الله سبحانه وتعالى فلا أقسم بما تبصرون وما لا تبصرون إنه لقول رسول كريم وما هو بقول شاعر قليلا ما تؤمنون ولا بقول كاهن قليلا ما تذكرون. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بادروا بالأعمال فتنا كقطع الليل المظلم يصبح الرجل مؤمنا ويمسي كافرا أو يمسي مؤمنا ويصبح كافرا يبيع دينه بعرض من الدنيا. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من أصبح آمنا في سربه معافا في بدنه عنده قوت يومه فكأنما حيز الدنيا بحذافيرها. عن الحارث الأعور رضي الله عنه قال خرجت إلى مشهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فإذا رأيت الناس يخوضون في الأحاديث فذهبت فأخبرت عليا رضي الله عنه فقال أو قد فعلوه؟ قال نعم. قال أما إني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول ألا إنها ستكون فتنة. قلت ما المخرج منها يا رسول الله؟ قال كتاب الله فيه نبأ من قبلكم وخبر ما بعدكم وحكم ما بينكم وهو الفصل ليس بالهزل من تركه من جبار قسمه الله ومن ابتغى الهدى بغيره أضله الله وهو حبل الله المتين وهو الذكر الحكيم وهو الصراط المستقيم وهو الذي لا تزيغ به الأهواء ولا تلتبس به الألسنة ولا يشبع من العلماء ولا يخلق عن كثرة الرد ولا ينقضي عجائبه وهو الذي تنتهي الجن إذا سمعت قالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا يهدي إلى الرشد فآمنا به من قال به صدق ومن حكم به عدلا ومن عمل به أجر ومن دعا إليه هدي إلى صراط مستقيم ورواه الترمذي أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters and fellow youngsters, having the ability to have time and then to structure that time and how to structure a season is such a great blessing. These are not questions many people can ask. It's such a luxury that I have the autonomy and the ability and the life and the health that I have been given the choice by Allah to structure and construct my life. There are people in the hospitals, they don't dictate what happens with them, they're told what happens with them. There are people who are so busy that hardly can get a break for lunch break. They have, either it's voluntarily or it's just because they've grown up in the system of this rat race, competing with the Jones, so you're just overwhelmed. If we're having this conversation of how we can spend our summer more productive, this is luxury. This is a ni'mah. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not overwhelmed us, that we can actually think about this. Because Prophet ﷺ said, hasten to do a few things before these obstacles come in your life. He said, بادروا بالأعمال سبعا. He said, hasten to do good deeds before 7 things happen. Before these 7 things happen, you should try your best to do your best. Number 1, غنى مطغية. Before you become so wealthy, where your wealth eventually makes you rebellious. It's possible. Wealth can make you closer to Allah, and it can make you rebellious. وَلَوْ بَسَطَ اللَّهُ رِزْقًا لِعِبَادِهِ لَبَغَوْا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَكِنْ يُنَزِّلُ بِقَدْرٍ مَا يَشَاءُ. The Quran says this. أو فَقْرًا مُنْسِيًا. Or you become so poor that you just forget everything. You forget your children because you're always working. You're always waiting to pay the next bill. You don't have time. You forgot about everything. You forgot about your parents, your children, your own health. Because running away from the fear of poverty. أو هرما مفندا, old age. أو مرضا مفسدا, or sickness. أو موتا مجهز, or sudden death. أو الدجال, the Antichrist. شر فتنة غائب ينتظر. أو الساعة, number 7. Are you waiting for the day of judgment? هل تنتظرون إلا الساعة? Allah says in the Quran, what are you waiting for to structure your life? I don't think this conversation is about structuring the summer. This conversation is about structuring our life and our time together. And I don't think this conversation should be only about our children, but also as a unit of a family. I'm not a family therapist or expert, but this is a very interesting discussion to have over the summer. I mean, can you imagine where we're living in a society when parents have 2-3 months with their children, they don't know what to do with them. Put them into camps, put them to Kuman, put them to a Quran program, Arabic intensive. I'm too busy, they're going to be at home playing video games, I have to do something with them. This is a very interesting conversation. It doesn't matter who we use as a secondary alternative to raise our children, they're never going to be raised the way we want them to be raised. And if the person that's doing the job does it faulty, there's no one else to blame except the parent, because he was or she was the primary person to do this. Institutions can be blamed, mentors can be blamed, society can be blamed, cultures, friends can be blamed. All this easy. I mean, this blame game never ends. This blame game, you blame the husband, you blame the wife. This blame game never ends. So I don't buy into blame games. I said, no, let's get to the bottom of the problem. Because even on the day of judgment, the shaitan says, hey, فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Stop this blame game. So if we can stop it now, we won't have to deal with the devil in akhirah. And there is no greater gain in this world in wealth than the wealth of a good child. And there is no greater loss in this world than the loss of a child to deen. This is why Prophet Musa and Khidr had to make that decisive decision and taking the life of an innocent child. أَقَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا زَكِيًّا. Zakiyya. The word zakiyya is very clear. أَقَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا زَكِيَّةً. Like, how did you kill this innocent kid? So we knew that this child was going to be a rebellious child. أَنْ يُرْهِقَهُمَا طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا. It was going to eventually make a parent so vulnerable where not only the child is going to be walking the wrong path, but the parents are forced to walk that path. Can you imagine in this story of Musa and Khidr, there's this component of this possibility of a child becoming rebellious, and there has to be a very important decision that was made. So when you study and read the Quran and you look at the prophets, ﷺ, they're the greatest individuals to look at. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لقد كان في قصصهم عبرة لأولي الألباب ما كان حديثا يفترى ولكن تصديق الذي بين يديه وتفصيل كل شيء. تفصيل كل شيء. It's not like Quran says هو التبيان تفصيل كل شيء وهدى. Some things are detailed but they're not guidance. It's pretty detailed but it's not guidance. It doesn't get me to the final destination. Detailed map but it's missing my destination. وتفصيل كل شيء وهدى ورحمة. It's mercy. لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. The Quran is a very unique text, an intellectual text. At one place in the Quran, it talks about angels hovering around the throne of God. الَّذِينَ يَحْمِلُونَ الْعَرْشَ وَمَنْ حَوْلَهُ يُسَبِّحُونَ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّهِمْ وَيُؤْمِنُونَ بِهِ وَيَسْتَغْفِرُونَ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا رَبَّنَا وَسِعْتَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ رَحْمَةً وَعِلْمًا فاغفر للذين تابوا واتبعوا سبيلك وقِنا عذاب الجحيم. Surah Ghafir, Surah Mu'min. In some places, the Quran intervenes in a very intimate situation where you and I wouldn't even notice it at home. For example, the companions eat at the Prophet's house and they sit around for a chat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَا مُسْتَأْنِسِينَ لِحَدِيثٍ. Allah says in the Quran, Surah Ahzab, إِذَا طَعِمْتُمْ فَانْتَشِرُوا وَلَا مُسْتَأْنِسِينَ لِحَدِيثٍ. If you eat at the Prophet's house, get up and leave. It's a very, if this ayah wasn't in the Quran, it really doesn't have too much to do with prayers, but it's really intimate. A woman comes to the Prophet ﷺ pleading her case of divorce and her situation with her husband. And the Prophet ﷺ makes a verdict contrary to the position she has. And she says, I disagree with this verdict. Khawla bint Ta'laba. And she turns to Allah and she pleads to Allah, and Allah reveals, قَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّتِي تُجَادِلُكَ فِي زَوْجِهَا وَتَشْتَكِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. Meaning, this Quran has such depth and details in every single thing. In this, there is the prayers of the prophets about children. In that focus, how important, if something is important for us, it's going to be in our prayers. That's the number one. If something is important to us, it has to be in our prayer. If it's not equally important, it will not be in our prayer. If someone is important to you, that person is going to be in your prayer, and they won't be missed. The prophets made this dua, and there's so many stories like this. But you're looking at people. Youth ask me questions. They say, Shaykh Abdullah, first of all, today's world's youth are confused even about marriage. Should we get married? Because they're so pessimistic to the union of marriage. It's just complete disaster. So we have to come over that discussion. And then they're very pessimistic about children. Look what's happening. Everyone's addicted to pornography. Everyone's having this problem. Do I want to bring children to this world? We have to discuss this. But Zakaria alayhi salam, I don't think anything would be subtracted from his heritage if he didn't have Yahya. He's saying to Allah, رَبِّ لَا تَذَرْنِي فَرْضًا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. Allah, don't make me leave this world without a child. He's saying to Allah, وَهَنَ الْعَظْمُ مِنِّي. The most powerful piece in my body, which is our bone, has aged, has become weak. My hair is on fire, it's so old. وَاشْتَعْلَ الرَّأْسُ شَيْبًا وَلَمْ أَكُنْ بِدُعَائِكَ رَبِّ شَقِيًّا. I want a child. يَرِثُنِي, another ayah, يَرِثُنِي وَيَرِثُ مِنْ آلِ يَعْقُوبَ وَجَعَلْهُ رَبِّ رَضِيًّا. Now Allah says, Ya Zakaria, إِنَّا نُبَشِّرُكَ بِغُلَامٍ اسْمُهُ يَحْيَى. The parent is so concerned, I want a child. Maryam's mother, Hannah, she's pregnant. And the minute she finds out she's conceived a child, what does she say in Ali Imran? نَذَرْتُ لَكَ مَا فِي بَطْنِي مُحَرَّرًا فَتَقَبَّلْ مِنِّي. Oh Allah, this child that's in my womb is devoted for your cause, which is Bayt al-Maqdis. It's not a decision that is made after. These decisions are made before. You know, children, when they're in high school, they know what car they're going to buy when they get a job. But parents don't know what to do with their children when they're in high school. Children, when they're in high school, know what car they want to buy when they turn 16 years old. Parents don't know what to do with children when they're in high school. It's scary. I mean, the priorities is just different. I think children consider cars more important than sometimes parents deal with the situation of our children. It could be very dangerous, not all the time. So Maryam's mom makes this dua, and finally when she has a daughter, she's perplexed. فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْ, Quran talks about this. فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّي إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ مَا وَضَعَتْ. Has this child, she's confused. What am I going to do with the girl? Bayt al-Maqdis has been served by men. How is she going to serve Bayt al-Maqdis? وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ مَا وَضَعَتْ وَلَيْسَ الذَّكْرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. Allah speaks about this, but there's a very strong component in this Quran, which is this. فَتَقَبَّلَهَا رَبُّهَا بِقَبُولٍ حَسَنٍ. Allah accepted it. All in the ashrat and the conditions of acceptance have to be met. The conditions of matching into a program have to be met. You have to match certain programs, you have to have a certain score. To match in Allah's programs, there are certain requirements. This mother made those requirements. Ali Imran made those requirements. إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَى آدَمَ وَنُوحًا وَآلَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَآلَ عِمْرَانَ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. There was these requirements that prophets did. This mother did, so did Maryam do, and then the journey carries on. In this summer, we're going to have a lot of time. And someone said it best. Sometimes it takes parents to discipline children, and sometimes it takes children to discipline parents. We want to have a great summer, but you may not know that while celebrating our own summer, we can jeopardize our children's summer for the goals that we have. Just think about spending 3 weeks in Turkey. If you spend 3 weeks in Turkey or Spain this summer, and you don't have structure for your children, that's 3 weeks without structure. Structure is so important. The Prophet ﷺ was very organized. If you look, Shaykh Masmari did this series of prophets 24 hours in a day, and he talked about his structure. It was very predictable, unless there was something happening. When there's no structure, organization in the home, then there's lack of discipline in the house. And the Prophet ﷺ's home and the righteous homes have a lot of discipline. And it comes with homework, akhlaq, Islam. If I was to single out, if I was to do a dichotomy of all these priorities of youth in my children, I would singly give most important to character. Character. Because I have seen people go into residency programs and they don't have character and they get kicked out. I have seen people get married, and if they live together, they'll have the perfect life, but they both lack character. Character is richness. البر حسن الخلق والإثم ما حاك في صدرك وكرهت أن يطلع عليه الناس. In character, the child's development, from psychological development, early childhood teaches us 7 years old. At 7, we wake up and smell the coffee. Oh, he's watching something or he's doing something. A parent tells me that a child was introduced to illicit content at 4th grade in an Islamic school. 4th grade. And because it's such a taboo topic, it's not discussed. But these are the things which are sucking the life out of our children. One child said to me, one parent called me and said, I think in Ramadan, my child broke his fast and I'm having a panic attack. I don't know what to do. In Ramadan, I was confused. So when the child questions Islam, and he says, when I sit down with the child, he says, Shaykh, this was just a front. I have other issues. Depression, isolation is not the issue. I have other issues that are stemming this type of behavior. And my parents keep on asking me, why aren't you happy? What can we do for you? Where do you want to go? Go for a bike. Enjoy the weather. There's a swimming pool in the house. Take a dip. Nothing. There's situations which are deeper than that. So in the summer, it's a big time. It's a long time. My teacher gave me the best advice. My teacher said, while you're in the year, you're in par with all the world in your class. Everyone's providing the same level of effort of success. But when you're in holidays, that's when people are developed. Because now you're on your own. So you have to go, you have to finish a grade. You can't skip the grade in the middle of the year. But you have summer to test out of another grade. You have so much potential, so much access, so much ability in the summer. If a person closes their eyes in this world and they know they have left a prize offspring, they can sleep peacefully in the grave. Peaceful sleep. But if they haven't, then even with everything they have, they might never show it and never express it because of their ego, but that will be a painful rest later on. قل إن الخاسرين الذين خسروا أنفسهم وأهليهم يوم القيامة ألا ذلك هو الخسران المبين. There is no greater loss than that. So while we're here over the summer, I think we should take advantage of the beautiful weather. I think we should change the setting of where we discipline our children. I think hiking is very important. I think going out, connecting with the nature, with your children is very important, especially after dealing with COVID and being, forced to stay in hostage. Take your children out. Don't throw more sheets of, their school right away. Give them a little break. Hear them out. The hours that we could not listen to them, let's listen to them. A lot of times we want children to do what we want. Well, why not we learn how to play video games with them? This summer, become your child's best friend. Do what he likes to do, what she likes to do. Your child likes to do something, let's do it. Personally, I don't like drawing. My children do, I gotta learn. I like to do something else, but I have to sacrifice it for my child. So, readapting even your priority. I want to be on the lake, it's so cool. No, but the child has something. Show interest in that. If you can be someone that is open to that relationship, take him out, take her out in the nature. Children are very connected to animals. It's just a natural thing. If you were to go to the Grand Canyon and come back and you built a relationship with your children, or somewhere in Wyoming climbing the mountains, you came back, you saw some mountain goats, you saw some bears, you came back from, the Smokies, and you build this connection just through the nature. That's beautiful. And connecting with that, talking through it. Today, if you can just keep the children for 5 days off technology, that's wallahi equal to Umrah almost. MashaAllah, good job. Tap your shoulder. So number one, I would change the venue of our family setups. I would go outdoor. Beautiful summers. Michigan has the best summers in the whole America. With all these lakes, more than 500 lakes in Michigan. Inland and outside. So you could do that, number one. Number two, in that process, the Prophet ﷺ didn't say, while they were moving, like he was saying, hey, pick up your pants. He was very careful. Like in the process of living, there was a tarbiyah happening. It wasn't like they were always in a classroom. How can you modify hundreds and thousands of Sahaba in one classroom? There's no mic system, right? You can't hear. How was this happening? It was happening on the go. It was happening. A kid sits down in front of the Prophet, he starts to jump at the food. Bara, Fida sits down, I'm at his dad's house, and his dad notices that the food is, I'm just giving an example, food is placed, and right away he comes and starts grabbing the cakes and the food and starts making the adni chai before I get served. The dad looks at this and says, wait, Dhaif. So in the process of serving your teaching, the Prophet was the best teacher. And my boy comes, he dips into the hands in the Prophet's platter. The Prophet says, Ya ghulam, says, Salama, Salama's child. This was the Prophet's wife. This is the Prophet's stepson. You know, the Prophet ﷺ is speaking to this boy that lost a father, coming into his house, the whole trauma that he's going through. But the Prophet is considerate to that, but the tarbiyah still has to happen. Oh, my akhlaq has to always develop. Prophet ﷺ, Ya ghulam, samillah, wa kul bi yaminik, wa kul bima yalik. You can't forget this, because when the action is taking place, the cognitive mind of the child is able to develop the change. If we do it later, it's not going to be the same. And sometimes correcting at the same time could be also problematic. So you have to gauge the personality, the person, like the person urinating in the masjid. If the Prophet jumped at the situation right away, it could have a reverse effect. Let him finish his mistake. We'll gauge the situation. He's an adult. He has an ego. He has a situation. He has his own personality. He might never come back to the masjid. So the Prophet would gauge each person individually. A man comes to the Prophet's mosque. He's praying. Someone sneezes. There's a new convert. So this brother hears a person say, he sneezes. MashaAllah, this convert knows what to say after someone sneezes, but he doesn't know when to say it. So he goes, Alhamdulillah, in salah. And the Sahaba, they started to like slap their hand. You know, this man who had this the Bedouin behavior, he says, مَا لَكُمْ تَحْدُونَ النَّظْرَ إِلَيْهِ. Start speaking. So why are you guys giving me like this type of weird attention? He says, mind your business, basically. The Sahaba got more irritated. He said, who is this guy disrespecting the Prophet's salah? Companions were going to pounce on this guy. The Prophet ﷺ said, leave him. فَدَعَاهُ إِنَّ هَذِهِ الصَّلَاةِ لَا تُصْلَحْ مِنْ كَلَامِ النَّاسِ إِنَّمَا هِي التَّسْبِيحِ وَالتَّهْلِيلِ وَقِرَاءَةُ الْقُرْآنِ. This is the salah. You cannot add words to it. He says, مَا رَأَيْتُ مُعَلِّمًا أَحْسَنَ تَعْلِيمًا مِنْهُ. I've never seen anyone a better teacher than the Prophet ﷺ. So in the process of hiking and boating and fishing takes a lot of patience. You can stand there all day and not catch a fish. You know what a kid's going to do after 20 minutes? Jump in the lake. This is so boring. No, sit down. Take him out. But change it up. Outdoor activities as much as possible. Bike with them, hike with them. Do something new. I don't know if you guys horse ride. Go horse riding. You know, I'm not asking you to be like me because you're probably different than me. But that's what we have to do. We're blessed. We can afford it. Inshallah. Number 2, one thing can never be missed. Salah. Salah can't be compromised. Salah is not a meal. You can miss one meal and have another meal and maybe go out without 2 meals. 5 times salah. When does it start? It starts early. Prophet ﷺ said, عَلِّمَ أَوْلَادَكُمُ الصَّلَاةَ سَبْعِ سِنِينَ. Teach them how to pray properly at 7. And we're afraid to wake them up because of lack of sleep. Kids figure it out. Get them the importance of salah. So number 2, in the summer, consider the salah as a priority in your home, in our homes. And just do it yourself. I have children that come to me. He says, Dad, I come home from school. I said, Dad, let's pray asr. He said, I'm just too tired from work. How are you going to answer to God? It's very dangerous. So number 2, I would really establish the Salah component. You know, if you already do the farad salah, maybe come to the masjid with them. If you're already doing that, maybe the sunnah. And then if you're already praying salah, what are you praying? Ever ask a child after prayer? What are you praying? Who are you praying to? I'm just doing whatever you're doing, Dad. Okay. Ever ask your child, what did we just do? Oh, we prayed asr. What did you say? I was moving around. Make it funny. Make kids like humor. You know, one kid said to me, he's 11th grader. You know what he said to me? He said, I didn't know my dad watched, the World Cup in 1982. He didn't know that. He said he's in 11th grade. I didn't know my dad was a soccer fan. Like, I didn't know my dad was, all I knew he was into medical businesses, but I never knew he was a soccer fan. Like, familiarize your children to the same interest. They will connect with you. In that language, you have to speak their language. I said, Gary Chapman's book, the languages of love are for parents, for couples, but he has 5 languages of the children. Just listen to their stories. The stupidest thing is to ask a child, how was your day in school? The child's going to say, I hate it, or it was great. I mean, the lack of creativity in the question speaks of how this conversation is going to go. So, who cried today? Who was sent to the office? Did anybody fall off the monkey bars? Get them to talk. We've silenced our children by having these questions. We are setting them up for a yes, no. Do you want ice cream? No. Psh, change it around. What ice cream is the best? What's your best ice cream? Superman? You know we're close to that. Sister, what's the best ice cream? Chocolate. What flavor? What brand? Haagen-Dazs. Cookie dough. But you like your chocolate. You like your chocolate flavor. Anybody like cookie dough here? Raise your hand. See? You like cookie dough? Who else? Who likes chocolate? Raise your fist. Who likes plain or mint? Who likes mint? I don't understand how mint and chocolate went together, but now I do. My taste buds have aged. So we're going to run out of time now. So that's something else. Like change the conversations with your kids. If we are acting busy with them, like we're showing that we're too busy to sit with them, a time will come we wish we had time with our children. So the number 3 is having meaningful conversations with them. Meaningful conversations. It might take some studying. It might take some time. It might be boring. I got calls to make. It's okay. Number 4, if there is an academic or Islamic aspect of your child that is weak, this is a good time to fix that. I would do one of the academic part, and I would do one, this is what I do at home, one of Islamic aspect of it. One of each. Depending how, and maybe your own too. Maybe your own. I don't know enough about Palestine. Okay. This is the time in the summer to learn about it. This is the books that I'm going to read for summer. These are the books my children might read for summer. So either individually or as a family or a child who's in your house, maybe, modifying that part of their life. There's nothing better than knowledge. There's nothing better than knowledge. If a child can just learn tajweed in Ramadan, in the summer, which is a great quality. If the child doesn't know how to read Quran, with all the Zoom options, how serious are we if our child is doing poor in grade 6 math to find them a tutor? We do everything. But if the child doesn't know how to read Quran by grade 6, there was no one in Muhammad al-Fatih's army that came to Istanbul that wasn't Hafiz. No, they're all Hafiz Quran. They're all Hafiz. 40,000 scholars, Hafiz al-Quran. So you'd be able to do yourself. I was watching this YouTube video. It had over a few million views. You know what it was? Alif, Ba, Ta. Everybody's learning on YouTube. I told my brother, you think Miftah's famous? This guy teaching Alif, Ba, Ta is more famous than you. Because now there are people learning it on their own. They don't need teachers. Everything is taught online. It's just that we have to take the incentive for the child and for ourselves to do it. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, personally for me, my studies for the summer would be 2 things. One would be Palestine, and I've already started. I'm actually doing a series in Flint, which is called The Prophets of Palestine. Because prophets came to Iraq, prophets came to Egypt, prophets came to other regions, just the prophets of Palestine. I want to study that, where Yaqub, his family, no one talks about Ishaq, as much. Everyone focuses on Ismail. I took that narrative route for my summer. So I think you could do this too, and your other interests. Even building a good hobby, whether it's cooking, whether it's drawing, whether it's praying, just building yourself. You can't go wrong. The best investment is in yourself. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us that in the summer. But this is the concern of all prophets. This is the message of the Quran. Ibrahim alayhi salam is saying, وَجُنُوبَنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامَ. Oh Allah, save me and my children from the worshipping of idols. If the least we can do is come out from the summer on our children, if not being better Muslims, but they haven't declined. Because it is the worst thing for a human is leisure, free time. One of the best things, Imam Shafi says this about أخذت من صوفية. I learned two things from these mystical people was الصيف الوقت كالصيف إن لم تقطع يقطعك. Time is like a sword. If you don't use it correctly, your life will get wasted. And then النفس إن لم تشغلها شغلتك. In your nafs, your desires, if you don't occupy it, it will occupy you. It will dictate to you what to do. The worst thing to do to yourself and your children is to leave them just figure it out. In this wilderness, figure that out on the computer. One wrong typo can lead them to wrong curiosity. Figure it out. No, it's not like that. وَجُنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. We have to also gain, but we also have to prevent we have to protect what we have already gained. I've noticed now the culture, I'm sad. Parents traveling and leaving their teenage or juniors or freshmen children in charge of the kids. Like, we're making them responsible. God help you. God help you. And the parents, they're good kids, mashallah, they do their homework, they come back. We don't even see what's happening. We don't even notice. What went wrong? If my parents left me for 10 days alone, my growing up was I couldn't even sleep at night at a friend's house. Forget being home alone for 10 days. That'd be better than Disney World for me. That's what children want. Children want you to leave them alone. And here you are. So, you're giving them poison and you're asking them to survive. Wow. You are very brave, trustworthy parents or very naive parents. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us people who use our common sense to raise our children, who use the lessons from Quran and Sunnah, and don't have to wait for something wrong to happen. So now we have to find rehab and therapy, because the process of doing it right is cheaper than the process of correcting. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.